Alright, well, I'm across the creek from my camp and west a ways. Yes, west. Is it west? North, sorry. Lose myself down here, and I'm right up against the canyon wall behind me here. Starting to get dark, so everything is very quiet right now. Night birds and frogs and all that should start popping in here pretty quick. Like I said before, you know, most of these investigations, when you're out looking for evidence of Bigfoot and stuff, end up being just a nice camp trip, and that's okay too. So whether anything starts happening later tonight or not, I wanted to film my daily routine when I come on these things, just to show you guys what I generally do, which I do a lot of hiking, do some fishing, and now I'm doing some hiking right at dark, which have to be careful. I put on my high top boots as it got darker. They're not as comfortable to hike in, but they give me some protection if I, accidentally, if I get close to a snake and it bites me or something, it gives me some protection there. So right now, before it gets dark, I'll share a Bigfoot story with you, and this goes back to 2002, I believe. And I'll tell you where this area is because I don't investigate up there anymore. So if there's any of you guys up in the northeastern part of the state that investigates the Sasquatch mystery also, this is in the river bottoms behind Grand Lake of the Cherokees up by Disney, Oklahoma. And back when I had my website back in the late 90s, early 2000s, I received a report from up there by a law enforcement officer. He and his friend, the report said, he and his friend were camping back in there and riding their four-wheel drives. A lot of people there, now as I got acquainted with them, they had a lot of buddies, and they had these tricked out four-wheel drive Jeeps and pickups, and they'd go back in those river bottoms and go four-wheeling. So it was, it was good fun. But on this particular evening, him and another friend of his had been target practicing before dark, and later that evening, when they had quit, they heard something in the brush. And let me describe this area. There's a lot of mountains there behind the dam there at Grand Lake, and they come down a lot like this, except it wasn't as rocky. As you come to the bottom, there's a dip and then another hill that came up, and something was on the other side of that lower hill behind them, and they were thinking it was probably an armadillo or something. And there was a space that they could go around, so they, both grabbed their pistol. They thought, we're going to go shoot that armadillo. And when they went around, what they found is the noise they were hearing was this Bigfoot scooting up the other side of that on its stomach to take a look at them. So when they come around the edge of this, I'm going to call it a berm for lack of a better word, come around that, it was down on its stomach on the other side of it, had been watching them, and it stood up and looked at them. My question to the gentleman was, what did you do? And I'll clean up his language a little bit, but basically he said, I screamed like a girl and ran. So he described it as about 7 feet tall, dark brown hair is what he described. So that led to me investigating that area at that time, and I probably went to that place 5 or 6 times, and I cast a track from there. It wasn't a huge track, but it was, it wasn't a human track. It was the wide, flat Sasquatch prints that were down in those river bottoms. And it's like around here, a lot of leaf litter and stuff. So finding track worthy of casting was a challenge, but I did there. And one night we were down there. Well, I believe the guy. The first night that I went down there with him, he would not stay down there after dark, and his friend wouldn't go back there at all. So I ended up staying down there myself that night. Nothing happened then, but another night that I went down there, something did. We were there at camp, and we were hearing something in the cane brake on the side of camp, and we saw something's eyes shine through there, and it wasn't red or anything. It was kind of greenish eye shine, like you'd expect a deer or something, and that's what I thought it was. but it was in the cane, the wild river cane down there. So I went around the side to flank it to see what it was, and when I went around, they said it was his name was Dan. He said, "Oh, it stood up." So he saw it and said it was a Sasquatch. I didn't see it from where I was at, but something large went running by me through the cane. I didn't see it, but he said he did, and said it was the same thing that him and his friend had seen when they were down there. So fast forward a couple of years, when I helped the Travel Channel do the documentary Bigfootville, we returned to that area, and that's the part of that documentary where we're down in the river bottoms and our pickups are going through the mud and all that. And I'm going to clear up a controversial part of that documentary right now. It showed this gentleman fire his gun into the woods on that documentary, which the way it was edited made it look like he was firing at something in there. What you don't see is that berm is right there, and the producer had actually asked him if he would fire a couple of shots into that berm as a demonstration of that night, and he said sure. So if anybody watches that, before you get upset about this guy just wildly shooting in the woods, that's not what happened. He shot his gun a couple of times into that berm. Nobody or no thing was ever in any danger. So that investigation, like I say, other than when the thing went running by us and he saw it, I didn't, and the track we found. But anyway, that is that story right there, and that was a very credible account because both of those guys, one of them was a police officer, the other was a deputy. So and they're both on Bigfootville, and they even went on to be interviewed by Art Bell, I believe, sometime after that on his show when he was still on the radio. But there's one right there for you. That's up in Disney, Oklahoma, below the dam of Grand Lake of the Cherokees. You can still get down there as far as I know, so it's been nearly 20 years since I've been there. Haven't kept up with what's going on up there. If anybody that's watching this has any experience around that area in the Northeast around Grand Lake or knows of any reports there, send me an email. I would be very interested to know if anything like that's going on still. And that's, the email for the YouTube channel is bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. If you have any Bigfoot sightings or other cryptid related things you'd like to share, just send me an email and I'll take a look at it, perhaps share it on this YouTube channel. So excuse me, allergies acting up. So anyway, back to what we're doing here. It's starting to get dark. Thought I heard an owl off in the distance. It's about that time the owls and all of that stuff should start popping in. I will be I'm probably not going to build a fire. I built one to actually I just used charcoal to cook the fish I just made. And I may not build a fire. I may just kind of hang out and listen to the woods tonight and see. I didn't set up a tarp or anything. I'm just going to kick back in my lawn chair and listen. If anything starts happening, I will start recording again. So anyway, this may be I've recorded quite a few things today, walking through the woods and talking and stuff. So this may be a two-part video. So we'll just have to see. I try to keep them around 10 to 15 minutes. It seems like those in that length tend to be viewed a little bit more. So anyway, getting dark. It's beautiful out here. I'm going to be listening, and I will turn this camera back on if anything else starts to happen. So stay tuned. The edge of that cliff I'm at the bottom of. Just in case you're wondering, I am in no way going to climb this right now. That would be disaster waiting to happen. Like I said earlier, there are a lot of timber rattlers in this area. I've seen one cottonmouth today, but they're going to be coming out into the creek here pretty quick hunting, and if it's still enough daylight when they do, I will film some of those as well. There's the creek right there. So this is a solo camp looking for Bigfoot.